was still saying Brilliance code because I registered in. Okay, that's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. We are live. We're here. Welcome, everybody. If you can add into chat where you're coming in, where in the world you're coming in from, we'd love to see who's joining us.
Yes, hello. We are your co-hosts, Alli and Steph, and we are so excited to be hosting this first Freedom Friday. This is one of 3 that we are doing on topics that are here to help support us, those of us who are change makers in the world, those of us that are trying to balance all the things. And this first topic is on luxury as liberation, which I think will be very nurturing for us. So I just want to say a couple of hellos to first folks coming in. We see that there is someone who's joining us from Tacoma Park, Maryland. Welcome. And if you're joining us live, if you are joining us on the replay, you might be able to comment as well too. We always love to know that you're here. Claim your seat. Let us know that you're here. We're really excited about this topic in particular. I feel like in 2026, especially, and in terms of the environments that we all live in and all of the change. This has been a game-changing topic for me that I really owe to Alli and her thought leadership about. And I think in some ways, learning about your perspective, Alli, around reframing, redefining luxury as a liberatory practice, I think is even a precede or a prequel to even this arc and this work that we are now doing. So for those of you who are here live, I would be curious if you would love to share, when you hear the word luxury, what's like the first thing you might even think of, because my whole experience with luxury was definitely conditioned in the world that we live in, was all about it was Robin Leach's Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous back in the 80s. So that's kind of what was on my mind at first. So I feel like that for those of you who are, identify as leaders, activists, creatives, who are really, is really, you have that gift of giving, and maybe the giving back to self, the giving to the collective comes much more naturally. When you hear luxury, what does it make you think of?
And while people are thinking, I also want to say, like, this idea, yes, it comes from my stories, but it would not have happened without working with you, Steph.
Yeah.
Steph is like so good at like helping people mine their brilliance. And so I feel like we both get credit.
Thank you. Yeah. Maybe we should introduce ourselves too.
Yeah,
that just occurred to me. So
we skipped that part.
We skipped that part. Yeah. So Alli, do you want to go first and just introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah.
Would you like me to introduce you?
Oh no, please don't.
No.
I'm Alli. I'm the founder of the Equity Practice, and I live in Dallas now. I grew up in Houston. I grew up in predominantly white communities, and I often share that when I introduce myself because it shapes a lot of why I do the work I do. So my parents were really great about teaching me how to navigate a system that was not set up for me. And then I also learned to build relationships cross-racially. And so those two things, having really strong relationships and having good systems that hold people well, is kind of what I do now. It's how do we make sure that everyone can thrive wherever they are? So that's me.
Yeah. And hey, everyone, I'm Stephanie Zhong, and I'm joining you from Philadelphia, which is where I was raised and circled back to after 35 years in Los Angeles. And so I am of mixed Asian heritage and of Chinese and Japanese descent, of which historically a lot of violence between the two. And I see myself and the generations of ancestors before me as bridge builders, because they built literally marriages across those lines in times of violence. And like Alli, I also grew up in predominantly white communities, or Black and white communities in which I was often the only one that looked like me. And also to be somebody who, so my work is around personal brand identity development, really mining the gems of your own stories, your own multiple intersectional identities to really pinpoint what your unique perspective is that you're here to give into the world, what and your thought leadership, because the fact that each one of us is so different, I think, came from my childhood. And like Alli, I really learned how to have like my feet in different places. And the way it worked for me was really just getting curious, almost like a cultural anthropologist from a very young age, trying to fit in and belong by learning about different people. And so that really led to a lot of different people, often strangers in my life, who would just start telling me their life stories on a train or and I would realize that what we see on the surface is just an atom compared to the universe that lives within each and every one of us, and that what we see and who we are can really reflect dramatically different things. And so for me, that's one of the reasons why I love to empower people to really see their multifaceted selves. And when we do that, we actually form more common, we discover more common ground with each other, even if on the outside we might look dramatically different or our lifestyles might be dramatically different. And so I guess what I'll do is just introduce you, Alli, in terms of like when we talk about the origin, and then have you talk about this idea of luxury as liberation. So, as Alli mentioned, a few years ago, she was in my Own Your Message program, which is all about mining your story and finding those nuggets of genius. And Alli's nuggets of genius, especially this topic, kind of really like was a game changer for me personally. So Alli, would you like to share a little bit about the emergence of that and when you first, I'm also curious when you first, really felt that liberatory feeling
Mm,
yourself, like when you first experienced luxury in this way.
yeah. And the experience of Own Your Message was so great because I think it unlocked all these things I believe that I didn't even realize that I believe that can be really helpful for other people to hear. So
Yeah.
some people don't know this, but I studied hotel management in undergrad. And the reason I did that was because from us being a small kid, I loved hotels, like loved them. And so my mom tells me the story of one time we went to San Antonio and I think we were staying at the Royal Sonesta or something like that. And it was just this beautiful hotel. And she puts me down and I just start dancing because I was so happy. And I've always loved staying in hotels. In fact, I would, instead of getting a birthday party, I would ask to go to a hotel for a weekend because I just loved really nice hotels. And it just feels nice. Like I remember just um, loving being in beautiful spaces as a kid.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, I still love, I mean, who doesn't? I still love a nice hotel. But for me, like for example, I like try and fly first class. And it's not about being elite or anything like that. It's that I do believe we all deserve beautiful things. I believe we all deserve to take up space and be treated like humans. And one thing I've noticed about the way our society is set up, so like if you go through the pre-check line, they treat you one way. If you go through the regular line, it's a completely different experience. I had to go through the regular line. It's going to sound so horrible, but I had to go through the
No
regular line.
judgment. It's a judgment-free zone here.
And they were yelling and screaming, and it was just like not set up for people to be successful. They're like, take out all your stuff, but there's like nowhere to put your stuff, and they don't tell you what you need to take out, and the rules keep changing. Whereas when you're in the pre-check line, it's calm, it's quiet. They make it so that there's lots of ease. And I don't love that there's like this bifurcation of who gets that. Because don't you think
Mhm.
everyone deserves to have a calm,
Yeah.
easy experience? Like,
Mm.
why do we limit that? And I think that and some people might say like money matters, but I think that's because we've learned scarcity from capitalism, and that doesn't actually need to be there. So that's long
Mhm.
answer for where it came from.
Yeah, and what you just shared in terms of your story about, you just literally dancing the minute that you were in the environment, and what I hear in that in terms of how that relates to, like, liberation is, like, your body just naturally was its carefree, expressive
Mhm.
self in
Yes.
that space, and I'm just curious if you like, even just, like, hearing that, and that was just sort of an instant thing, because I'm just curious if in other spaces, would you normally be dancing around in other spaces? Like, if you were at McDonald's, were you somebody who did that normally? Or
Mm,
did you notice that when you were in, like, the Sonesta,
mhm,
that you started to carry yourself differently, or you started
mm.
to take up space differently than you would, in, kind of like Target, or well, Target didn't exist back then, but you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. I don't know what I did when I was 2.
Yeah.
I do know like I was a little, groover. So if there
Mhm.
was music, I definitely was dancing around.
Yeah.
But now what I can say is, um, when I'm thinking of this hotel that I got to stay in on one of my vacations, and it was absolutely stunning. It had this beautiful iridescent tile, and it had a chandelier, and it was just the people were so nice and so caring about making sure we had everything.
Mm.
There's been another hotel we stayed in where they heard us talking about the pillows and we didn't like the pillows, and they replaced our pillows. Like that sort of attention to like
Yeah.
care, and what it feels when you experience that is like you can let go a little bit. And almost when you like think about our muscles relaxing, they take up more
Yeah.
space. Literally, you take up just a little bit more space. Whereas when I'm in an environment that is not beautiful, that's very cold and harsh, I feel tight. And I
Yeah.
just personally want to get the heck out of there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about your voting places, but our voting places here always smell funny.
Yeah.
Always in this like gym somewhere, and they smell funny, and I just can't. I'm like, let me get in and out of here, just because like the whole aesthetics and vibe is just I can't. I like pretty spaces in a nutshell. So yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
And
feel that way when you're like in beautiful spaces too? Do you feel that in your body at all?
I do feel it in my body, and it's interesting, like, the contrast of, like I said, how you helped me actually shift my whole paradigm around luxury, because
Mhm.
beauty I understood. My parents, like, we didn't, when we went to Disney World, we took the Amtrak, and it was like an overnight Amtrak where there were no
Mhm.
beds. So we're sleeping in the
Right.
seats, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for us, it was about creating adventures from
Mhm.
what we had, and it was camping. So we did a lot of more rugged things,
Mhm.
and not so much fancy things, but what we did do was beautiful things,
Mm.
nature and as beauty. And so I really learned, and this is where I think, like, the untethering of luxury and comes in, is that, yes, like, there are, what I love about your experiences when you were sharing during Own Your Message about what it
Mhm.
felt like to be treated as a special guest and to have
Mhm.
abundant care,
Mhm.
anticipated even probably before half of your needs came up. They already, that
Yeah.
kind of care. And that really, like, my system, as I was listening to you tell the story, my whole
Mhm.
body was already starting to relax, as
Mhm.
if I were experiencing what you were experiencing.
Yeah.
And the truth was, before you even started sharing about that, after college, I had a few friends who took on consulting jobs, and
Mhm.
when I was in a corporate finance program here in Philadelphia, and one of my friends was basically his company put him up at the Ritz-Carlton. So I went to the Ritz-Carlton lobby to wait for him, and I was in my business suit thing, but I felt so uncomfortable. And this is where the personal sovereignty part kicks in. It's not because anybody was mistreating me, it was because I felt like I had a sign on my face that says and I remember sitting, exactly. And I remember sitting in the lounge area, and they offered me a glass of water or something. And I was literally trying to figure out how I'm supposed to sit so that people didn't think I was, didn't belong there. So I was really body conscious the whole time, and but nobody was really paying attention to me in that way.
They're
right?
worried about themselves. Yeah.
And this is why, to me, the personal sovereignty part matters, is that I was negating myself and taking out the belonging.
Yeah.
Literally, after you started sharing about, when you started sharing those stories, I shifted my approach, and I love that. Like, I have to say that, for example, even like my fashion wardrobe, it changed because I was always upcycling, because I'm an environmentally friendly, person. I had a blog in the aughts called Fabulously Green that was all about how do you have, in a way, I was pursuing luxury, how to do personal expression in your home decor and in your fashion without wearing a burlap sack. That was my goal at the time.
Yeah.
And so finding, I think I was posting about ways that you could get beautiful designed clothing that was made out of silk, which is very eco-friendly, or ways that you could find pre-loved fashion. But I didn't buy any of it for myself, Alli. I still didn't feel deserving of it at the time. Isn't that weird? So
I mean, it totally makes sense, and this is where the solidarity piece comes in, right? It's like capitalism teaches us that some people should get that and some people don't. And so if you don't associate yourself with someone who should get that, then you do feel uncomfortable. I will say there have been times when it's too fancy even for me, where I'm like, if there's a butler, I'm like, I don't know what I
know what to do here. There's 5 forks. What are you doing with each fork?
It's too much.
Watch Downton Abbey to learn that.
I feel like this can show up in ways that are really practical too. So when I was a COO and was building out our office space, I was very intentional about making that a beautiful space that was designed for humans to thrive in it, and make sure there was lots of light and color and different textures. And what was fascinating is, originally we thought we would share the space with a couple of other nonprofits. And one of them, the leader of this, who's one of the richest people in this community, was like, how much space does each cubicle get? And then architects were like, oh, it's 6 by 6. That's the standard size that, most people feel comfortable with. And he's like, well, let's cut it in half. I don't think people need that much space. And then he's like, well, what's the mother's room for? Is anybody pregnant right now? I don't think we need that. Let's cut that. He was just all about reducing. And I was like, wow, you literally don't think these people deserve more space.
Right.
And in his office, he's not in a tiny space. So I just think it's like,
he's not in a corner office the size of a powder room,
right?
He is
like cramped in,
right?
With no light, right. It's just,
and he wouldn't want to be, and he gets to actually probably embody himself more,
right?
Because of the view and the space. I appreciate that too, because now that since really understanding this more, and even how I have started in terms of, even in my wardrobe, making some of those changes, I notice that I actually feel more creative. I notice that my posture's better. I notice that I am it's just even for my own enjoyment, like work from home.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do wear loungewear, and I think that's luxury too.
Oh, yeah.
The ability to be able to say, hey, instead of sitting at a desk,
Mhm.
I get to, like recline on on
Mhm.
my sofa
Mhm.
in my bathrobe and work. It can be a form of freedom and luxury, right?
Yeah.
And I used to be an interior designer in a previous world, and so really studying the psychology both of how individuals
Mhm.
um, literally experience, think,
Yeah.
respond differently to stimuli, and
Mhm.
how groups, either will be more like they'll either be more communal or less
Mhm.
communal,
Yeah.
depending on those thoughtful details
Yeah.
and thinking about abundance of care and design, and also the practice of working with clients on different budgets, because we also had nonprofit clients, how
Yeah.
to create that. It's not like, I think the idea that luxury doesn't have to be expensive,
Right.
but that it is about this abundance of care and attention to
Mhm.
detail, and thinking about how people's bodies or minds or
Mhm.
community is going to feel in
Mhm.
that space. That there's so many ways that on a sensory level
Mhm.
allows us to show up more fully, is really something that is so incredibly powerful, and I think is unfortunately
Yeah.
in a lot of workspaces, is lacking, and I think
Mhm.
leads to even more. I mean, even I think about lighting design too, it leads
Yeah.
to just different levels of
Yeah.
energy and outcomes and things like that.
Yeah, it's not everybody, right? Like you go in
Yeah.
some of these offices and they're gorgeous. Like go into a foundation office, you're gonna be like, whoo, they got the floor paved with gold. Funny thing is, for the nonprofit that they're supporting, they would balk at that the same
Yeah.
type of textures and light and seating to be available to nonprofit staff. And I just think that that's bullshit. Excuse my
Yeah.
French, but it
Yeah.
is. Like, we all deserve to not be hurt by the chair that we're sitting in, you know?
Yeah.
To your point, like, the office space I designed was actually under budget. We were able to
Mhm.
still build really beautiful space, and we did take up more space. Like, there was more space for people. But I stand by that.
Mhm.
Like, there, to your point, there's like all this research about if you put people too tightly bound together, it just makes them angry. So like think
Yeah.
about the last time you were on a plane. Like, I'm a Gen Xer, so I remember what the seats used to be like. And we used to dress up to go get on the plane.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just to experience the seats and everything gets smaller and smaller. And I'm tall, so like I feel like I'm crammed in there, and I don't want to touch. I'm like conscious of like, is my elbow touching this other person? It's just like, why can't we have enough like ink space, so that we can just sit and not be all tight and bound. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's why people fight on the planes, because they don't have enough space and they're
Yeah.
in.
I'm sure that there's actually scientific research that speaks to that, because I know what the standards are when you're talking about residential and commercial
Yeah.
spaces, just what the minimum amount is that you need for just feeling, when you're talking about whether it's safety, whether it's actual
Mhm.
safety, or
Mhm.
whether it is comfort and the ability to like actually be in your own space as opposed to, right?
Yeah.
And the ergonomics of it, which if we're in desk jobs day after day, yes, that absolutely makes an impact on
Yeah.
public health as well too.
Yeah.
Um, and I just wanted to acknowledge here that Ms. Hugh, she mentioned here, some luxuries feel, I appreciate this comment, some luxuries feel easier to access than others. For example, a nice meal, a spa day, great
Mhm.
travel. Others feel like something that other people somehow live in always, like private chefs, yachts, and
Mhm.
expensive purses.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's what I appreciate about this is just noticing that there are some things that feel extremely exclusive or unattainable. And there's a both and in what Ms. Yu was saying about that. we can access luxury
Mm-hmm.
for ourselves. And what you had said, Alli, around like ease
Mm-hmm.
and I think that question around, yeah, like this next question I think is really speaks to this is um, for those of us who struggle to act
Mm-hmm.
deserving or have a scarcity mindset. Like I shared, I still actually I like work on my scarcity mindset. Like when we
Mm-hmm.
try to receive this kind of care and abundance for ourselves,
Yeah.
this is a question for everybody. Is there anything that gets in the way? Do you notice like you block or you protect yourself from it? Maybe
Yeah.
there's something that you really like. I mean, for me, it can be as simple as passing a flower market.
Mm-hmm.
I still notice this, right? And thinking like, I know some people bring home fresh
Yeah.
flowers, and I know that that actually energetically is incredibly rejuvenating from a feng shui background,
Yeah.
and I still block myself from
Mm.
buying fresh flowers. So
Mhm.
typically I receive them as gifts. Like I will
Mhm,
receive
mhm,
orchids from friends a
mhm,
lot so
mhm.
that I end up having them, and it absolutely can change my mood, right? So I am curious for folks, and especially, and I think I'm curious about like depending on our respective identities, if there are
Yeah.
places where we feel more or less blocked.
It's so fascinating because even the cut flowers, like I don't you have a Trader Joe's near you?
Yeah,
I mean, you can
it's
get
not
cut
hard.
flowers for like $3.
I know.
So I think that that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't about the amount of money you're spending. It's like how, because yes, there are yachts.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ever going to be on a yacht. Personally, they look uncomfortable. So so I don't think I ever want to be on one, but I can be on a boat
Yeah.
and I can be on the water.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this, like this idea when you look outside, like there's this big tree it's my friend. I should, you know, come up with a nickname for her. Um, and it's a live oak. So it doesn't drop leaves in the fall. It
Okay.
only drops them in the spring, and it doesn't drop all of them. So it's green all year round, and there's like squirrels and birds and like all kinds of different birds, and there's just bird song all day, and that is gorgeous to me. It just reminds me of how the world, like there's insects in there, so the birds can eat, and then
Yeah.
the insects are getting the bark. Like it's all connected and all just this natural care that exists,
Yeah.
and that's free for me to look at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like there's so many things like that that we do have access to or should, but capitalism tries to like hem it in. It's kind of like a enclosure that they did
Mhm.
in Europe. It used to be the land was open and everyone could farm it. And then the rich people convinced, just decided they were going to put fences up and now it's theirs, which is just like, what? What are you talking about? But that's literally what's happening now. It's like they fenced it in and they're like, this
Yeah.
is ours now. It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It is wild. Yeah, so I think that asking this question for ourselves around
Mhm.
if there are places where we catch ourselves um, really intrigued and excited, whether it's to have an experience of
Mhm.
travel or food or, you know, um, anything that you realize like your body actually expands and leans towards it, but your mind is telling you, no, I don't deserve it, or it's too expensive.
Mhm.
And just noticing those and jotting them down and maybe taking a contrary action,
Yeah.
and which is sort of how I grow in general.
Mhm.
So my contrary action was really noticing to, you know, buy a cashmere sweater and
Yeah.
notice how, first of all, I realized, wow, this is so much more comfortable and I'm not spending half my time readjusting myself,
Right.
whatever the things that I was going through, but I could like feel comfy in my skin
Mhm.
just from something simple like that.
Yeah.
And luxury means different things to different people, but
Yeah.
Alli, I heard I hear comfort. Like for me, like we've just sort of named a few things and we can maybe build on it. Like how
Yeah.
can this be a liberatory practice? You had
Yeah.
mentioned ease, that
Hmm.
this like it just, practicing luxury brings ease, deep care,
Yeah.
being seen, being
Hmm.
what else? For me, it's been as a designer that's been helping, and
Hmm.
especially in nonprofit environments, I actually felt even more so.
Hmm.
My goal was always to uh, delight them and get them
Hmm.
into a place of wonder and awe and pride about their spaces, even if they were on a shoestring budget,
Hmm.
and to see how communities interact with each other differently. And so,
Yeah.
that the commute, when you said solidarity, it's like somebody else can give you the permission to open up and say, go ahead and take up that space. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, that's probably why when you talk about teenage girls going shopping, they're like, I can't get, I can't get this, and then your
Hmm.
friend is like, of course you can.
Yeah.
And look how great you are. And like, look how well it fits you and look how you're
Yeah.
glowing. And you know what I mean? So let's talk a little bit about some of those liberatory like benefits of.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of the benefits? I think like spaciousness. I
Mhm.
think ease, definitely. Beauty, I think is a benefit.
Yeah.
One thing that like really sticks out to me is like being worthy of kindness.
Mm,
So when you think about the pre-check line,
yeah.
they're just nicer. Like that's why I like it. Or even the
Yeah.
few times I get to fly first class, they're just nicer. They give you food. There's like plates and glasses, and they just treat you like a
Yeah.
human. And I feel like
Well,
luxury is that. It is like the ability to receive kindness and that you deserve care.
yeah.
Um, and I think respect, like there's an element of respect of that. Like I see your humanity and believe that you deserve all the beauty versus like I do think there's some people do believe that some people don't.
Yeah.
And I just think it's our birthright, you know what I mean? To be able
Ooh,
to, like, exist in this, like, spacious think how big the fucking planet is, like,
I know.
we just and it is beautiful, like, think of a sunset, how gorgeous that is, or, like,
Yeah.
you watch a river go by, and so, even those things are, like, the ways that we've, grown our communities. Some people have more of that than others, right? So, but it's unnecessary to, like, keep it from other people. You having access to the sunset doesn't keep me from accessing the sunset, you know?
Absolutely.
So
Yes. Yes. And that beauty is available for everyone. And
mhm.
I love what you said about luxury as a birthright
Mm,
and luxury as a means to really recognizing and seeing
mhm,
one's humanity. And when we take that concept and then we think about how we're building this bridge, you and I, between the personal sovereignty work to give yourself permission and worthiness
mhm,
to say, that I am worthy of this. I don't, need to question. And the solidarity piece of
mhm.
even hospitality, I think another piece, right? Because you
Yeah,
were in hospitality for a while and talking about the care, because even when we bring people into our homes, we spruce it up, right?
right,
We might bring
right.
fresh flowers. We suddenly take all that cheese and we display it. So, right. It's like how many of us put together, we just plate our food differently for
Yeah,
other people to say, and this is the Japanese part of me has
yeah,
always loved and appreciated how even in farming villages and
mhm,
we again not talking about money, but
yeah,
talking about a way of being
yeah,
where you might catch a fish and you're going to plate it very specially,
Yeah.
even for yourself and certainly for your guests. And
Yeah.
so I feel like that luxury as this act of love and an act of I see you, I see your
Mhm.
humanity. Not
Mhm.
only that, but I'm welcoming you
Mhm.
in and just wanting your humanity here with
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
And then the other side is, I think, the feeling worthy of receiving it,
Mhm.
and both of those pieces,
Mhm.
we need work systemically on both sides, I think, in terms of the conditioning of, treating like the customer service and
Yeah.
these, elite things, and how giving abundance of care suddenly means like we don't treat with care at all
Right.
another group of people. Like it's
Right.
just so binary.
Yeah.
But like, what can we do individually? So on the sovereignty side,
Yeah.
then my challenge for myself and for everyone else who maybe struggles to receive, even when people are being kind and
Yeah.
generous and abundant,
Mm.
to maybe play with that and allow yourself to practice worthiness, whether you treat yourself first. I loved that on
Mhm.
Parks and Rec, the way, I don't know, did you ever?
No, treat yourself. Yeah.
Oh gosh. And I love that they're both people of color too. So it's like they had their annual treat yourself day and no one's going to see them all day. And they're
Right.
literally doing everything. And it's like just all them. And
Yeah.
so I loved that. Um, and also for those who maybe are leading teams and thinking like, Allie, for you,
Mhm.
how to bring more ease and abundant care and maybe some fun and delight. Like I even
Mhm.
think beauty,
Yeah.
wonder. There's something like wonder that activates more creativity,
Yeah.
activates a shared emotional
Mhm.
experience. And you have
Yeah.
other thoughts about what you might encourage or invite people to
Yeah.
reimagine for themselves?
Yeah, I love your practice too on the sovereignty of like how can you practice receiving? Here's another one I challenge people. How can you practice asking for it?
My God.
Right.
Say more.
Right?
Tell us more about that.
So as I've mentioned, so I live in a hub city. American Airlines is here and Southwest is here. So that means the airline tickets are not that expensive. And so often a first class ticket is maybe sometimes it's cheaper than the coach with when you add in all the fees. And so I'm like, well, if it's $100 more, I'm going to fly first class. But I think a lot of times with clients, they're like, no, you can't do that. And it's like, well, this is actually cheaper than what there's something about like that, them not even like, that's not okay, but advocating for it anyway. So like we figured out how to handle that internally so that there wasn't, it wasn't like so people could make that choice for themselves. So like we write our contracts that way. And so there's other ways that you can do that as
Mhm.
a leader is like thinking about how do you make sure people have what they need. So one thing I also did as a COO is like when people were moving, like I remember being so stressed out about money and like credit cards and things like that. So I never wanted someone to have to be in financial trouble because they're trying to do their job. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
companies don't think about that. And so I think that type of care can be like making sure that here's your moving bonus and it comes to you before you move. How about them apples? You know, instead of reimbursing people, which just assumes that you have access to
Yeah.
thousands of dollars when everyone doesn't, or even making sure that everyone has good benefits. We would do things like if we were hiring and someone negotiated something like additional parental leave, we would flow that to everybody else. So
Mhm.
there's like all these choices we can make about how do we, because I do think luxury is a form of care, but like how can you um, make that choice and then protect? Because I do think and this is probably the subversive part, is like sometimes you do have to be like a little subversive with it because people think you don't deserve it. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
they're gonna push back. Even our board, when we did the build out, was pushing back on why do you need this much space? Why do you need this couch and all these things? And it's I think as for me, using my power and privilege in that moment to be like, no, we're going
Mhm,
to do it anyway,
mhm.
instead of thinking I need to comply with a world that says people don't deserve this, people don't deserve abundance, they don't deserve care. Um, yeah, I think it's just like the more you can think about that. Like an example is one of the food pantries here. They've set it up that they kind of set it up like a grocery store.
Mhm.
And so folks that need to come in, instead of just getting a box of here's what you get and you don't to fit, like you're going to take what you get, they actually give them a cart and they go and they pick out what they want. They set it up so it feels like the grocery store, like they're
Yeah.
experiencing, because instead of having this like other experience that can feel shameful, there's these like clothing where they give clothing to women who have been in domestic abuse situations, and so they don't have access to money and they need to get a job. Like they set those up like a store so that you can go
Yeah, like a
through,
boutique.
yeah,
Mhm.
with care. And then you like, there's a fitting room with mirrors and all those things that often are not given. And I think like those types of choices is how can you be kind, provide ease, spaciousness, beauty for other people? Just like, how can you use the resources you have access to take care of everyone?
Mhm.
You know?
Mm. I love that.
Yeah.
And that it actually makes people feel seen and nourished, and we haven't actually said the word safe, but I would imagine also if you're feeling respected and you're feeling an abundance of care, you
Hmm.
had said, "I relax." It's like
Hmm.
it becomes a safe space as well too when you're exerting sort of it's hard it's a shame to say excessive kindness, but
Right.
in a way,
Right.
right? It's like the gold standard of kindness in a way, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like there can be interesting questions for those of us who lead teams, or in our own families or to ourselves,
Hmm.
I mean, one of the questions that I've been asking myself is, if I were to treat myself as a special guest in my own home,
Yeah.
what would I do differently? So I have actually begun this practice
Yeah.
of, as I'm eating healthy, with my salads, is I plate my salads really like a restaurant plate. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't cost anything extra. And
Right.
what it does is actually activate my creativity. Sometimes I've taken photos of them,
Hmm.
when I kind of find I'm like, wow, look at this beautiful composition I just made.
Hmm.
And then in eating it, I'm actually more present when I'm eating the food. I'm actually eating it more slowly. I'm probably digesting it differently.
Hmm.
Um, and so I love some of these ideas both in the workplace and then
Yeah.
personally for
Yeah.
ourselves, that we can
Yeah.
debunk. Of course, we still are dealing with capitalism, that's
Yeah.
there. And then there's
Yeah.
stigma and
Mhm.
conditioned, obviously,
Mhm.
uh, things. And like what you said is like sometimes when you can advocate for uh, luxury on
Mhm.
behalf of yourself and your team.
Yeah.
And that does make it, and I know that there's actually one could pull research at this point. You could probably pull from AI tons of research that relates to it now. Like if I were still a designer, I would just be like anybody who is trying to, apply guilt to
Yeah.
something like that. You could actually make the case of what you instinctively knew all along from the
Yeah.
time you were two.
Yeah. And I do think practicing is an act of resistance. So,
Mm,
there, I'm Sonia. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting her last name, but she talks about pleasure activism, and
mhm.
Adrienne Marie Brown talks about it too.
Yeah.
This idea that we all deserve pleasure, and for me, luxury and beauty are like a form of pleasure. Um, and the only way we change the system or one of the ways we can change the system so that we're not feeling guilty about using our china that you
Yeah.
have that you just never use,
Right.
um, is by doing it intentionally as a form of resistance to
Mhm.
um, capitalism. Like the more all of us take up more space and the more we give that space to our team, it is an act of resistance and it literally will change the norm and we'll move back the other way. So if you're a plane designer, how about you build a plane with more leg room? Try it. See what happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little sad that Virgin America was bought by Alaska, because I felt like that was the first time in coach that I felt like I was on Prince's personal jet or something.
Yeah. And JetBlue used to be nice too.
And JetBlue, yeah, exactly. So I really appreciate the examples, and the question here that we have for you, for those of you who are, you know, we know that if you're here, you care deeply about people-centered spaces, work, culture, and maybe these questions can help you dig in a little bit and find these simple moves. I really do think that some of these moves can be remarkably simple, that don't even necessarily cost much more. And then checking in yourself as a leader as well. If you notice that you're someone who tends to be more wearing the badge of work harder, right? Like it's like not only a tone that's set for the culture, but also draining your own cup at the same time, and to give oneself permission to really receive that birthright, to see, to see luxury as an act of resistance and abundant care. How many things can we say our dynamic duo like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, should we switch to talk about like the ways we're building this into
a lived experience? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So for those of you, if you have been really intrigued and this has resonated with you, in terms of imagining how you could integrate and live out some of these ideas of luxury as liberatory for yourself and for the people you care about, we invite you to become a sojourner with us. And so from these conversations that Alli and I have had, really gave us this idea to create what we call the subversive sojourn. And really, I would say that's Alli's naming, because it really comes from Alli's line of work. So this is where you get to actually take this concept of luxury as liberation and turn it from a conversation of imagining how
that's you.
That's me echoing myself. How is it going? Okay. Is it good now? Okay. Can you hear me? Alli, can you hear me?
Yes, I was trying to see if there were any LinkedIn comments, and then.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure the audio is back. Mercury,
no, you're good. I just was trying to make sure we saw the comments, but alas, that's not available. So carry on.
Carry on. So if you want to actually embody this and start to get some ideas for how you could really live this out, we've created a sojourn. That the inaugural one will be in Philadelphia. And this is an arc of 6 gatherings with one in-person weekend in Philadelphia, where you join a community of like-souled individuals who are also here to be world changers and are done rationing their own joy at the expense of building a movement. And so the sojourn is really made for you if you identify as a social impact founder, coach, or leader, or artist or activist who's really here to build something that is very people-centered, moving towards a more equitable world. And maybe you've been struggling with a couple of things, like the tools and frameworks that they just don't move the needle the way they used to because of the climate we live in today. And maybe resources as well are shrinking, and you're finding that you and your team have to, again, extract oneself to do more. Maybe you're seeking examples that another way is possible, just like we talked about. Like, what if luxury could be part of the strategy, part of the people making culture? But you're not looking for another book to read, another, another course to take, where you have to really take a lot of efforting to find those new ideas. And you are like, if hopefully this conversation, if anything, if you have struggled to receive care, make time for yourself, that you're making that decision to stop rationing your own joy and to start experiencing what the power of joy can actually do to make you more effective by actually integrating more play and more rest. And you also want to build meaningful connections with like-souled people who are also on the same path, where it's not about hustling harder, but it is about integrating and honoring the self, as we are also cultivating care for other people. And so this idea began from, like I said, the two of us, and basically the two of us, the disciplines we embody, and building this bridge that doesn't really exist today. So Alli, as she mentioned, solidarity is her DNA. This is the work that she does. She has spent over a decade building equity and restorative practices for mission-driven orgs, and often help build repair and trust in the process. And since we were talking about Philadelphia, we both have a love of Philadelphia. She lived here, she taught, she led here for 9 years. And my work is around engaging and activating our personal sovereignty, being unshakable in ourselves so that we can have the energy to sustainably do work and also mutually thrive. And so my work in Own Your Message is to help us own our stories, own our leadership, which helps us be worthy as a category of one leader, not squeezing into an archetype, and using human design as a very powerful tool for understanding who you are and how your energy is uniquely designed to be able to dream up and follow through on audacious dreams and goals that you have. And I grew up in Philly, and after 30 years have come back home again. And so this sojourn experience is really about, it began from this place of asking this question around, hey, like the seeming competition or tension between self-care and collective care, and saying, why don't we create a bridge between the me and the we in an intentional way? And so we've dreamt up the idea of building a bridge through a container and an experience. Many retreats and trainings will focus on either building the me part more, intentionally, or the we part. Subversive Sojourns is about integrating and bringing these two together and experiencing them in your mind and your body. So we talked about, when you come on a sojourn, you're going to experience luxury. You're going to be poured into and receive so that you can give back to your community from a full cup. We're also next week? Next Freedom Friday might be around this idea of looking at history and ancestral wisdom from a unique lens too. So while we do have things to repair and things to fix, we also have this opportunity to look at it creatively as a generative place where maybe if we explored history from this immersive place and looked at some of the wisdom from ancestors, we could actually maybe come up with fresh ideas to build the new world we want to have in our future. And then finally, this idea of personal sovereignty and solidarity. And so having virtual gatherings as well as the in-person experience to really support in practice and also mutual nurturing of your own creative energy and your own identity, and the seed ideas that you are called to do, and having a community together that has different seeds and can support each other in nourishing and nurturing and catalytic ways. And so we're reimagining this idea of, whether you call it leadership or advocacy or just being a human, is just that what if as humans you could be a sojourner who you just stop choosing between the me and the we, and we start
Mhm.
living in harmony with those things together.
Can I hop in real quick, Steph, just about
Sure.
that?
Yeah.
So this idea of subversive sojourns, like when we trace it back, what happened is I heard this story about a slave ship lands on the coast of the Americas, and then these people left off the ship and ran into the hills, and they created these whole new communities where it was about care, protection, making sure everybody had enough,
Yeah.
preserving their cultural practices. And when you think about what happened in slavery, it was literally the opposite of that. And so it was this
Yeah.
story of the third way. And so started to do all this research about how this shows up all over the world. And I think
Amazing.
what is so beautiful about what we're building is it's an embodied way to explore that through the lens of sovereignty and solidarity of like, how can we learn from our ancestors who have done this,
Yeah.
who have, you know, been like capitalism, whatever. We're going to do this over here.
Yeah.
Because there's so many stories of that. And I think it helps us remember who we were, who we are, and who we're going to be, or who we choose to be. So I just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because I think those freedom communities, it's that we have so much to learn instead of thinking, and that the world has always had, this kind of oppression, and that we see that this is a big part of the in-person experience,
Mhm.
as Alli mentioned, is to actually get to witness and experience it, to give us, it's almost like lost, I don't know, I want to say lost wisdom, but history is written by the winner. So there's a lot of treasure in there, that we
Yeah.
can reconnect with, and build from for ourselves, because they, like you have taught me with the maroon communities, they built under seemingly insurmountable odds.
Mhm.
So that means we can do it. We can absolutely do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So here is the arc of the full experience, and we talk about, the first one is launching, August to February.
Mhm.
And so we have 6 experiences. We start with a virtual community gathering on August 14th. And this is where we're going to set intentions, and we're going to start shedding some of, again, the conditioning that has kept us, right, from being able to embrace our full humanity, and start to cultivate and open the portal inside us to become that sojourner, and to actually meet the fellow sojourners that will be in together in community, so that when we arrive in person, we already are familiar with each other, and we've met each other.
Mhm.
And then, so on August 28th, this is the in-person sojourn, which we'll share with you. It's in Philadelphia, the inaugural birthplace of our nation. Also, a big inaugural when you talk about free Philadelphians creating a city within a city, and so many firsts, that, 2 freedom experiments happening at once. And Alli and my both familiarity and love for Philadelphia, you can really feel it in the air in the 250th anniversary right now. So we really saw this as just, it would make sense for us to launch the first sojourn here and have you, get to embody and experience that.
Mhm.
So after we do the sojourn, and we're going to show you exactly how that lived experience and immersion works, we're going to have, when we go home, a lot of retreats, it's sort of like, okay, I felt great for, that period of time. Now I'm going back in the real world, and all kind of goes away. So
Mhm.
what we want is that whatever seeds that emerge from that time, and the relationships the bonds that we create together, that we will have 3 very intentional virtual gatherings to help you alchemize. And so we will have one in early September, so that it helps you stay connected to yourself, your sojourner self, and make sure that a portion of your life is still nurturing the seeds that you want to tend. And so we'll have an intentional community there to help reconnect. Some of the dots might have even felt connected even more since you come home, and building relationships and potential partnerships for what you're building. We're
Yeah,
also gonna.
Steph,
Oh,
just
sorry.
real quick,
Yeah.
I put the link in chat for folks who might need to hop. I know we're almost at the
Yes. Oh,
top
thank
of
you.
the
Yeah.
hour. If you want to learn more, or if you want to chat through what we're talking about, we have the link in chat. So, Steph, please continue. Sorry to
Oh,
interrupt.
yes. I'm so glad you're keeping time. It's not one of my strengths. Absolutely. And so this is kind of seed alchemy time. Then we're going to have a session on sovereignty session. This is where we're going to learn about how to activate sojourner energy through your own unique human design blueprint. And so this will be a real game changer for anyone who struggles to activate creative energy in your life, or you find you're always absorbing other people's energy and you don't have a lot left. Every single person has their own unique operating system. And so we're going to actually tailor this to help you be able to preserve quality energy for yourself, as to be able to really hold space amongst others and be able to be inner powered is the way I look at it, as you're doing the impact work that is your everyday job, and then also any passion projects that come out of the sojourn. Alli, do you want to talk about the solidarity session that comes after that?
Yeah. So when you think about this journey that we've been on, we've had this embodied experience, we've alchemized it, we've learned about how to bring.
Oh, Alli, I think you're on mute. Can you hear me? Alli? Alli, I'm not sure if your audio is working or not. But just in case.
People.
Oh, Alli, you're cutting
Yeah.
in and out.
Yeah, it's probably my internet. Sorry.
That's okay. You're good now, it seems. So do you want to share again what the solidarity session is?
Sure. So the solidarity session is about taking, you've gone on this embodied journey, you've alchemized what you learned in person, you've thought about how you can use your own energy in a way that feels edifying and a witnessing of yourself. Now, how do you take all of that and use it to support each other? So how can you take what we've learned and create a vision for how you want to lead in a way that takes these lessons and spreads it to the people that you're in partnership and community with?
See, I love that. I'm so looking forward to that session myself. And then we're going to have a 6-month reunion as well too. And along the way, we have a private WhatsApp community, so you can build deeper relationships or partner up or be able to get, some support and abundant care through the ups and downs of being an alchemist and a sojourner, and nourishing and growing these ideas. So, with that, let's dive into what the in-person sojourn looks like, the lived experience. And since we're talking about luxury as liberation, I love this so much. This is really, this is Alli's doing, because, of course, she's a hospitality luxury queen. So we will have as our private home base, a residence all to ourselves. It's a 4-star called the Diplomat. And so you can see some of the pictures here. We have like the bedroom spaces if you choose to be an overnight sojourner, to have that restful sleep, to have that private space to dream. And then also we have beautiful like rooftops and common spaces here, like lounge spaces, libraries, chairs to journal, places to have some stimulating conversation if you and someone else are kind of sparking on the same idea. And our meals are going to be here as well. There's actually 2 kitchens and 2 dining areas in this space. And you're just going to really enjoy, everything is uniquely decorated, so no bedroom is the same. And then during the day, so we're going to be witnessing and making. And so we have privately scheduled our own group tour, where we're going to walk through some significant places in Philadelphia of the Underground Railroad and what we call the Black Metropolis, the city within a city that was created 6 blocks away from where the founding fathers were, where 18,000 free Black Philadelphians created, I mean, an ecosystem of care, wealth, educational systems. When Harriet Tubman arrived, it's like they really thought about and architected, like I really want to say designed and architected specifically this idea of having not just systems, but actually a community, as what Alli was saying, but and really building full-blown infrastructure and holistic care for upwards beyond that. They had like I think 10,000 escaped slaves that also came through, that took care of, built vocations, and having a thriving community. And then after that, we're going to have this spacious lunch break where you can explore the city if you want to. We'll give some suggestions, or you can take a nap if back at the place, or you could just lounge in the Diplomat. And then in the late afternoon, we're going to, and I love this, we're going to have some creative playtime inside a museum. And specifically, we have our own private studio in the African American Museum in Philadelphia. And this is going to be a chance to, you're going to have all the creative, like fun supplies there. We're going to have oracle cards. We're going to have prompts and things to help you just like bring out your inner kindergartner. I think luxury, one of the things about luxury is play, right? Like unencumbered play, and you'll be able to design your own Sojourner Oracle card, and together we're going to make an Oracle deck as well. And who knows what else will come out of that. And then from the creative studio, we're going to gather back at the Diplomat, where we're going to have a private dinner catered by our own private chef. So just as Ms. Huey was saying, yes, like having the experience of having a private chef, and not just any private chef, but actually one that is also using their own ancestral lineage to tell stories and nourish through food. And so that is going to literally give us like the full body experience of what it's like to, when we were talking about plating food and like tapping into all of this wisdom, and then just like nourishing ourselves in this beautifully plated way. And then we're going to have a closing ceremony afterwards. And this is a chance for us to witness you, to speak forward what you want to carry out, so that as a community, both in online and in our subsequent meetings, that you have people who are going to be looking out for and witnessing and being, your accountability buddies, or your, partners even, or people who might help you with permission or motivating, if and when, the life starts lifing. But it's going to be a really beautiful, somatic and intentional way for us to like close and allow us to reopen the next chapter when we gather again in our virtual gatherings. And so every Sojourner is going to leave feeling hopeful, feeling energized, connected with each other, braver. Hope that it reignites your spark if you've been struggling to keep your spark alive, and maybe some surprising new seed ideas, or maybe new pathways to ideas that you were already nurturing, with a squad who is here to support, nurture, and celebrate you and each other. And so there are two ways to sojourn. So we are keeping this very intimate on purpose. So we will have 22 spots for this sojourn in Philadelphia, this cohort here. And you can come as a day sojourner or overnight. So if you come as a day sojourner, then you would have, this includes the 6 gatherings that we talked about, and the community, the private guided tour, the private studio space that we have in the museum to creatively play, and the luxury of that, and privately catered meals, breakfast and dinner. home. And we also have a couple magical surprises for you to take home as well too. So if you join us for the day, you get all of that. And if you decide you need extra luxury or you're coming from afar and you want to really bring in rest into this, you can become an overnight sojourner and stay. So everything that's in the day sojourner experience, you'll also get 2-night 4-star accommodations right at the Diplomat. And that will include a Thursday evening welcome gathering of those that are staying there, and then a Saturday morning breakfast to send you off. And then, of course, extra time to luxuriate. You have your own ensuite bathroom as well, too, to dream, to connect and get to know each other, spiritual slumber party and all of that. And there are different rooms with, that are shared. Some of them are kings and queens. And so you can check and see the different accommodations and then choose the one that works best for you. And we also have personalized payment plans. So you can set up your own payment plan however you like and spread out the payments using Klarna. And so there, as we mentioned, there's 22 spots available. The other thing I'll say is registration is going to close on August 17th or sooner if the spots are filled, because we want to prepare for that first gathering that's going to be on August 14th. And then also that this is the only time that this particular experience that gathers in Philadelphia with all of that will happen. So it's actually a once in a lifetime event. So if you're feeling really connected and called to the experience, the immersion experience in Philadelphia, highly recommend that you get your spot. Or if you have some questions, please feel free to use the link in the chat to contact us, and we would love to get on a phone call with you and really talk through if this is the aligned experience for you. And also you can hop on our interest list by taking a screenshot of this QR code as well too. So we're going to share 2 more of the topics: the history, the generative approach to history, and also personal sovereignty in the next 2. So if you would like to at least come for those Freedom Fridays and take in some of those ideas and experiment and see how they land, then be sure to join us on a Freedom Friday. And also that will get you on the interest list too, so that we can stay connected and answer any questions as you're thinking about if this would be the right liberatory, luxurious, and connected experience for you. And Alli, would you like to add anything else?
No, I think that was a great overview. Thanks, Steph, for doing that. And I put in chat. I don't know if my chat is showing up on LinkedIn, but hopefully I'll put it on LinkedIn afterwards, just in case folks didn't get that. But we'd love to see you in Philadelphia and on the 6-month journey. I think that it's just, it builds on this. We've been doing these subversive dreaming when we explore these stories.
Yeah.
And this is like this embodied way of how do you actually feel it in your bones and be in the place that these people created a third way. And so how inspiring that could be. And it's so different than a lot of, conferences or trainings, which is, you go and you get these frameworks and whatever, but this is about processing in your body.
Yeah.
Feeling it in your body and your creativity, all the things that you were saying. So I'm excited for the 6-month journey, and I hope people will join us.
Yes, we already have people that are joining us now who have already joined. And so we are really excited. And even in the virtual gatherings, now that you've gotten to know a little bit about our take of luxury as liberation, the virtual gatherings also, everything that we're conceptualizing as this journey, like you said, it's not going to feel like a conference, but we're really actually thinking about it through the lens of how a virtual gathering can also be very embodied, as Alli said, and also just continue to be in practice with ourselves to include luxury, include personal sovereignty, include a way of care that fills our own cup and each other's. And so I think it's just going to be such a special container. We can't wait to see you there and to greet you and welcome you and be mutually inspired through this process. And so thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you at the next Freedom Friday. And we look forward to maybe having a call and seeing you in Philadelphia.
Yes, come one, come all.
Come one,
See
come
y'all in a
all.
couple of weeks for the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.